What is going on, Play Gang? Your man Micah's back with another video, back with another live stream, back here with yes, another workshop build complete guide. Yes, I have other heroes that are power level 175 and that made it there before Winter Soldier, but because he's also newer, I thought I'd take the time out to go ahead and bring him first, and then I'll follow up with Black Panther and Captain America because those are my other heroes that I've now achieved power level 175 with, in which the next hero will be regular Thor after that. As you know, my last workshop build was Jane Foster's Lady Thor. So if you guys haven't already, checked that out on the channel. But yes, we're going to talk about the White Wolf, that is Bucky Barnes, James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes, and the build that I have more or less settled on with him, A, and B, what to think about when building your hero, specifically Winter Soldier. Of course, there's a couple different ways you can go about achieving a solid build for him. You have a ranged build, which most people will probably do because it does kind of work best with him specifically. You have a melee build, which arguably still works with him. Interestingly enough, Crystal Dynamics has a lot of knife based or knife focused perks that you can achieve or attain with specific gear for Winter Soldier, but you don't really use a knife all that often, except for maybe a combo finisher, or you hold R2 of course to get that little extra knife hit in. So that's really the only other time you can see the knife being used with him. I wish they would have had, or when you use his ultimate heroic, then he busts out the knife, but outside of that, he doesn't really use it all that often. It would have been nice to see him kind of toss it around as we've seen in the MCU, how he tosses the knife around while he's fighting. That would have been cool, and then they have it showcased right there on the front of his vest with this Wakandan style gear on. So, they could have definitely utilized his knife a lot more, but they didn't. So, melee, although good, I would say he definitely better built for a ranged build or a balanced or all around build where the focus could sway in either direction, but you definitely keep range in mind when building him. And for my Winter Soldier build, it's more or less balanced, but it's kind of heavily ranged balanced. Where if he had to get close quarters, he'll put that damage on him. He won't melt like he will with the range, but he'll still put the hands on somebody. And then of course his heroics, you definitely want Valor involved with this build. So as we waited for some people to join in on the live chat, I haven't seen any quite yet. I've spent a few minutes trying to buy people some time. I think what we'll do is just go ahead and just get straight to it. My thumbnail for this video will drop right after this video, of course, and then if not tomorrow, which I might be able to get it in tomorrow as well, I will drop my next Heroes Workshop build complete guide, and that will be for Black Panther. No, Captain America, just to, compliment Winter Soldier, and then after that I'll go Black Panther. Black Panther is going to be interesting for sure. But as it is, let's go ahead and jump into the menu. And here's kind of what's going on with him right now. As you see, um, I've been achieving a challenge card by just doing the challenges, and I'm already over halfway through. Would be nice if you got that weekly challenge daily, because you get like 11 points for each weekly challenge, which amounts to 22 points, and then you get 6 points for the daily stuff. So, it would be nice if we could get more for the daily challenges instead of just a little measly 3 points, but it is what it is. As you guys see here, he is power level 175. I was able to achieve that a lot faster because of the Winter Kills mission chain that they dropped. You complete some of the in-game activities with Winter Soldier, and then they grant you power level 165 gear, and that's how where he's at now, which is great. I'm not mad at it. I hope they actually drop that for the rest of the heroes as well. So regardless if your hero's at power level 175, you could most definitely take advantage of boosting the rest of your heroes up. So that way you can use them in the in-game content known as Cloning Lab. But I digress. So the first thing we're going to look at is the outfit. We got the White Wolf outfit on, of course. Now, of course, alternatively, for some reason, bugged out. It's still locked, just like Jane Foster's, uh, iconic outfit is locked. I did end up running across this in the challenge card. Some things they will grant you in the challenge card. this is his actual iconic. This is his first outfit. I guess you could say this is iconic, which is fire, right? I do like this one. I just realized it's basically almost it pretty much is kind of like a recolor. So you got that. Emotes, I only have two with him right now. I like his engine check where he checks his arm. He does like he swings his arm around, make sure it's straight. Rah, you know. Then he busts out which really should belong to Black Widow, but in this story, him and Black Widow kind of have like a relationship or had a relationship. Takedowns, I haven't achieved any of his other takedowns yet, but I hope to in the future. And then, of course, nameplates, not a big deal. So before we get into the gear and the artifacts, of course, you got nameplates. Found some in the shipments. I like this one right now. Let's jump into skills. Of course, this is going to be fairly straightforward. As you unlock each hero level, you get skill points to use across your light attacks, your heavy attacks, your range attacks, and your intrinsic abilities. Swapping on over to specialty, this is where it gets a little more free, freedom to customize your Winter Soldier as you choose. Now, of course, in the support heroic, I believe it is called Soldier Tech Nonsense, where he goes invisible, and a skill that they adopted from Black Widow. If you don't use takedowns, you stay invisible. They can't find you, so keep that in mind. But as it is right now, I have EMP, which when he uses that, it applies a shock status effect, which will come into play later as we progress into the build. But I like the shock status effect because it instantly grants a full shock status effect on the enemy. My next ability I have is Galvanized Stealth, triggering the Soldier Tech Nonsense will grant all heroes a burst of energy that will fill their intrinsic meters. That's very handy because if you're playing with other people and some of their builds are based off of their intrinsic abilities, this gives them the ability to boost their hero in that boss battle most likely. So that way you guys can all achieve that battery effect that you're more or less aiming for when trying to take down Claw, Villain Sector, Maestro, Abomination, Taskmaster, Monica, Modoc, just to name almost all of them. So using this, it actually helps your strike team out. If you're playing with your AI or with computers, I guess it still helps them out as well. Or you can just, you know, increase your chances to drop heroic orbs or recover willpower over time. That's pretty good, especially if you're probably not focusing on defense. This will help you out for sure. Now, moving on to his assault heroic, known as airstrike, where he basically calls in an airstrike. I am using the increase the size of the bombardment zone by 50%, so that way we can attack more enemies at once. And then I'm using Beneath the Red Sun, where when it triggers, while overcharged, it increases the damage by 25%. So you see how using this and then using this kind of go in handy. Of course, you have to double tap R2 if you're playing on PlayStation or your right trigger in order to activate an overcharge Winter Soldier to then be able to gain access to this skill right here. So keep that in mind when you're trying to overcharge your heroes. Some of them require, well, really him and Black Panther that I can think of right now off the top of my head, require you to double tap your right trigger or your R2 to activate the overcharge for them. Hulk, you just hold the right trigger or R2 and use his rage because he more or less overcharges with his rage. So with Winter Soldier, that's how you can get extra damage out of your airstrike. Now, the fun one here, Protocol Override, your ultimate heroic. Enemies are hit with marked for assassin and are instantly susceptible to takedowns. All melee damage is increased by 20% and a new knife light attack combo is available. And that's where you get more or less your knife perks that kick in here. You see you do high damage, high impact, high stun. So definitely a very good ultimate heroic. To backtrack here to the assault heroic real quick, airstrike is kind of sort of similar to Hawkeye's, the Night Storm arrow where he rains arrows down with whatever, status effect you got going on. That's where they kind of more or less got this idea from, which is cool. And then, of course, this is definitely reminiscent of Brooklyn Brawler from Captain America. So you see, I just named three different heroes with some of the attacks that he has. And when considering some of his movements, there's a little Black Panther and there's a little Spider-Man in there. So it's a pretty good mix for Winter Soldier. So with this, all range attacks consume no ammo when fired. This is where it starts becoming more range based, carte blanche. And then the other side, Fear and Falter. I'm using the mark for assassination, increasing stun damage from all the sources by 25%. I wish I had more takedowns. This would be more fun to use because I don't really utilize takedowns with him because his primary or his default takedown takes a long time. So for me, I don't try to utilize it like that. Otherwise, you can always increase your chances of dropping an intrinsic orb or a heroic orb. It's not bad, but that's why I'm just increasing stun damage at minimum. Now, if we want to backtrack to the primary skills again, I believe it's this one. If you watch this combo, this is Spider-Man inspired. Nope, not that one. I think it's this one. No. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's definitely Spider-Man and Spider-Man and Black Panther inspired because the slam to the ground is definitely Black Panther inspired. So again, just another look at how they fused a lot of different unique abilities from all the heroes into Winter Soldier, making him a pretty nice hero to use. Now, mastery skills. This is where it gets fun. So Hollow Point, increase all range attacks by damage by 15%. That's pretty much a no-brainer, especially if you're going more ranged. Alternatively, if you want to go a little bit more balanced, you can always do stun damage or this critical hit chance for damage, for melee damage. But this is probably the best way to go, especially for a range-based build. On top of that, I have increased damage from light combo or heavy combo finishers by 25%. This one's a little bit tough because you can do if you want to combine the two, twist the knife and assassin's courtesy, you get a 10% increased critical attack chance and damage. But as is, I'm not trying to do that right now. Increase signature attacks by 10%, which is interesting. Signature attacks are always kind of hard to kind of guess what to use with them because you always kind of have to go back to the skill tree to remember what signature attacks are available to see if this is kind of worth it if you use signature attacks with that hero. So be careful with this one. But as it stands, if you go on melee, use the critical attack damage in the other one. But for me, I'm increasing my combo finishers because regardless, that's the most damage increase boost in this part of the skill tree. What's going on, Epic Claw? No, long time no see, indeed. All right, and then this, the last tree in the combat, or last branch in the combat tree, if you will. Of course, I'm going with heroic orbs, so that way you can keep his heroics on recharge. Now, for the range tree, this where it can go either way. What's your weapon of choice with Winter Soldier? He has his semi-auto, his full auto, and he has the grenade launcher. I use a semi-auto most of the time, so of course increasing the max ammo capacity by 20 makes 100% sense. So that way you get that much more use out of his firing range. And then couple that with stunning spray to hit harder. This helps impact and stop enemies from trying to attack you, opening up the door for you and your strike team to apply more damage while you have them interrupted with the stunning spray or the full automatic. And in this tree here, increase the rate of fire with stunning spray by 45%. It goes crazy fast, and when you have a lot of ammo, it's like never ending. Trust me, this is a good skill tree to use, good combo to use, especially if you like using this fully auto. Now the intrinsic ability tree, you can go back and forth on. It just depends on you personally. Yeah, I changed my name Epic Claw. I had to change it, make it more personable so y'all know who I am. You know what I'm saying? So the first branch, calling the reserves, increase damage dealt based on the amount of intrinsic energy stored up to a maximum 10%. This is pretty good because you'd be surprised at how fast Winter Soldier builds intrinsic energy. So having that stored up, you just end up doing that much more damage, indirectly or inadvertently, which is a good thing. The next one is defeating an enemy restores a small portion of the intrinsic meter, and then Increase the amount of intrinsic energy gained when blocking or parrying attacks by 20%. So this is all to quickly recharge his intrinsic ability to activate that bad boy. You know what I mean? Now the intrinsic overcharge. Once you're overcharged, what happens? Instantly trigger the shock status effect on all targets that's hit by the initial blast. So as soon as you double tap that R button and he crunches that arm down, you see that little kind of static field kind of blast from him, they get applied a full shock status effect. I'm telling you, you get a battery effect real quick when a soldier applying these skills. The next branch, Soldier's Rage, increase the attack or the damage of all range attacks by 10% and the amount of melee attacks by 20% while his Red Star Rising is active. And of course, Red Star Rising is his overcharge. So activating that, he's a beast. Trust me. And then you couple that with using his ultimate heroic, where you might throw that knife damage in there and you start doing a ton of melee damage with that. So again, you can combo a lot of this stuff together and your Winter Soldier turns into something different. And then Winter Strength, the last branch within this tree. Defeating an enemy while Red Star Rising is active has a 10% chance to drop a heroic orb. Tougher enemies have a higher chance. So again, you want to keep your heroics on recharge, go for them heroic orbs. You don't really have to go with intrinsic orbs with Winter Soldier when you're applying some of these skills and just attacking, whether it's melee, well, primarily melee, as you guys see, but defeating an enemy nonetheless will recharge his intrinsic energy and you'll be overcharging left and right. Champion points, again, don't really pay attention to the combat boost. I know I do it. Sometimes I get point spendy happy. I would say save these points here because that was, what, 6 points I probably could have saved? Or 3 points I could have saved. I would say the tactical boost tree works, the utility boost tree works, and for the most part the defense boost tree works as well. Defense does incrementally go up because it is 1%. I don't know why they only did 1% there. That should have been 3% or 2.5% like the rest of the tree. But this is the only one that kind of gets me from time to time. I don't know if the willpower branch really works, but I know the defense and the willpower recovery branch works within the defensive boost. Keep that in mind. But for the most part, you won't go wrong using these trees right here. Skip this tree. Skip the combat boost. Just unless it's the last thing you have. Like once you got your hero up near 375, champion level 375, then you worry about the combat boost tree. Now, like I said, I got shock status effect that I have in 2 different ways, both with the support heroic and with his overcharge. Why is that important for this build? Well, just looking at my stats, as you see, my melee still up there at 25. He will still put the hands on you. Surprisingly, I was still able to keep his defense relatively high, and his range is at 2900, which means he's doing pretty good damage with his defense, with his range, and his heroic stays high, so that way activating and using his heroics, we still get good damage output from that as well. Now, why is this all the case? Well, technically, I'm still kind of not done with this build because I am looking for a specific gear piece for my melee gear slot, but as it stands now, we're doing pretty good. So, Omega Dagger. Knife and shotgun attacks inflict cryo damage. That works when you want to slow down enemies. And then, of course, I got the Cosmic Surge on them. So that way, doing light combo finishers will grant me a Cosmic Surge, restoring my willpower and heroic energy. Good piece to have because, again, it keeps your intrinsic energy on, or your heroic energy on recharge. The Unseen Assassin. I wish it had a third stat. Don't be mad at me. The reason why I switched to this is because I wanted that increased bullet ammo capacity by 18 rounds. The range attacks with bullets deal vibranium damage, and defeating an enemy debuff with the mark for assassination restores intrinsic energy, heroic energy, and 5% health. So it's just a great piece to use. I'll get to the skins again in a second, Epic Claw. But yes, this is a great piece to have. Now, if you want to jump in here real quick, the other piece that I'm keeping that I might switch back to is the Unyielding Kevlar. I get some of my, precision back with this piece. And I pretty much still keep my intensity, my proficiency. But what's special about this piece is the range. I still keep my vibranium damage. my grenades now do gamma, so I can also do a battery effect from that perspective outside of my shock status effect. Because vibranium's hot, shock is cold. You combine those two, and that's the battery effect, which basically does double damage or a lot of damage. So that's where that comes in, and I still get a bullet ammo capacity increase of 12 rounds. You know, the piece I currently have on is 6. I get additional 6 rounds, you know, so you're playing with fire at that point. But I do like the fact that I could still apply a battery effect with his weapons with this one piece. So once I get another 165 and I have enough upgrade modules, because as you see, your boy is dry out here, I can use that to then upgrade this piece and then maybe swap back to this. And then I still keep my intensity and proficiency, but I also regain some of my ranged back. And you see my intensity is crazy high. It's at 189. It doesn't even have to be that high. But quick status effect build up with this build, and you see his recharge rates for his heroics aren't bad. You see overall his stats are not bad. We'll get back to those stats in a second. Defensively, what's the piece I have on? The Unseen Guardian. I like a lot of those heroic or the hero specific perks because they really work well. Not just like the regular damage buff perks and the heroic charge rate perks and the willpower intrinsic burst and all that. You know, all that's cool. But them hero specific ones really come in clutch. Now what makes this piece good is the Soldier Tech reactive trigger, right? Automatically activates that when taking damage, completely negating the attack. That works. It works often too, surprisingly. It man, I'm telling you, Winter Soldier's defense is super solid. I don't want to say underrated. I want to say it's super solid. It will surprise you at first. Aim Safeguard reduces the reaction severity of enemy attacks and grants 25% damage reduction while aiming. So of course, if you're going range with the build, you're gonna need to protect him from taking a lot of damage, and that comes in handy. And of course, the increase in bullet ammo capacity by 12 rounds. The current build I have, he has a 90 round clip. That's a lot. I know. That's a lot. And I like it. I like it. And of course, this is all geared more or less towards defense, resilience, resolve, and intensity. This is where intensity could pop off if I really wanted to, or defense. This piece I was tempted to switch to because of that boost I get in melee and ranged. I don't mind taking a slight hit in defense, but this piece really is only good for the claw ray, or if you're doing anything in Wakanda, because not a lot of enemies do vibranium based damage. So that vibranium safeguard isn't as protective. The perk doesn't get used as often unless you're running a raid or something in Wakanda. And it's pretty much the same with the granting ground, right? The sonic conduit thing. It's and that specific perk is kind of whack. Not necessarily worried about this being staggered. But the reverberation breaker is nice because he has a quick status build up, and since I'm using vibranium, that would work because you do additional 25%. It's just the other two perks aren't enough for me to make the swap. But I continue to look at it regularly because I could at any point just swap and I would be happy. Like my defense is, I mean, it's still solid. Um, but I really like the gear. If I had those stats with the gear perks on the current piece I have on, then I would definitely entertain it some more. But I can't do that. And then last but not least, my heroic gear slot. What do I have going on here? Cybernetic Tactician. Yes, airstrike. You get an extra airstrike that comes in handy. 20% increase in stun critical chance and all normal damage of intrinsic attacks. And again, intrinsic attacks are basically holding R2 while sprinting for an extra attack on the sprint, for a slight change attack on the sprint with your heavy attack, dodging. If you're holding it, you do a little extra damage with the knife and whatnot as well. So this helps. But that main perk, which is fire, is a stunning spray frenzy, where it increases the impact and rate of fire by 70%. So you couple that with the 45% within your skill tree, and that's a 115% increase in rate of fire and 70% increase in impact of your fully auto. That's why this is so crazy, because he definitely builds status effect even that much faster, which is what makes this piece so fire. Now, of course, alternatively, I have this piece down here, which would have been cool to use, would have been nice to have on. And to tell you the truth, I could actually use this piece because the current build I have is based off of shock and vibranium, right? So if I activate shock with my support heroic, if I activate shock with my overcharge, attacking an enemy with vibranium damage that has an active sonic status effect spreads the shock status to nearby enemies. So that shock leak would actually work in this case. Now the sonic breaker doesn't work because I don't have any sonic attack, so unfortunately that doesn't really work out for me that well. But and the sonic conduits, right? Like, yeah, I'm not worried about it. So again, really only one perk works, but the stats are what's pretty crazy with this. Now, if I want to look at something else like this, where I could take a hit in defense, I could put something like this on, but I don't use plasma. I'm not using the support heroic. Well, I am using support heroic, so that would actually work. And then the tachyon surge, but I'm not using plasma, so I couldn't put this piece on. And then, of course, I don't have a cosmic piece, or I'm not doing any cosmic status effects, so this piece doesn't come in handy. Now, other pieces I have, like this is alright because of the stats, but I'm not gonna jump on that. I don't even need this piece anymore technically because I'm pretty much straight where I'm at. So I can actually get rid of that. And then this is cool. I might keep that because all I gotta do is upgrade it when I get upgrade modules. But that is the build that I have so far. Again, I could always switch on over, put this bad boy on, and he's doing even more fun stuff. You know, I lose my rounds, I lose I lose my rounds, I lose my defense. It's a tough one. I mean, I could always try it out and see how bad it affects, but if I'm doing enough damage where defense isn't as big of a deal, then, you know, it might be worth looking into. But that is my gear that heavily pushes me to power level 175, and that makes up my build. Now over here, I use Norn Stone of the Wasteland, where I get a boost in Ultimate Heroic, Recharge, and I get a Cosmic Surge over here. So that way, willpower and heroic energy is recovered with this piece, and then a triple valor, of course, heroic. My support heroic recharges increase, and I get a 12.5% increased critical attack chance for light combo finishers. So I got a couple things that I can gain out of my light combo finishers, and that's where increasing your perk boost comes in handy, because this just makes it that much more likely that you activate those perks. Then I use a Tactagon because, of course, this is definitely more or less a static or status build based, you know, status based build. So using the Tactagon really comes in handy to get as much out of those status effects as possible. So that is the build. Now for Epic Claw, you want to know the outfits that Winter Soldier has right now. Of course, I'm using the White Wolf. What's going on? It's Wills. What's going on? Yo, 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 homie, yo. The Iconic. You got the Frigid Tundra. You got the Deep Cover, which says it's locked, but it's not. And this is the outfit you start with, so I don't know why. This is for the second consecutive hero that they've dropped. The first outfit that you have to use ends up reverting to a locked status. Now in this case, you can click on it. In Jane Foster's case, you can't go back and wear that outfit unless they fix that bug. But for me, I don't think I've seen it fixed. Now, of course, you have his Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier Marvel Studios outfits. This outfit's cool. I like it because it looks like this. I'm cool with his face. Well, you know what? I actually might get this piece. This is the one no, not that one. That one's good too. And he's just had no sleep, or it's war paint. This is the one I actually want. This is the one I like with the complete mask on and everything. I like that one. And this would be the one I may resort to. And you have Earth's Protector. It looks like Iron Man helped him out. Interesting outfit. Not my cup of tea. This one's interesting. It definitely gives you more of a cyborg look. You got the Howling Commando. You got the Bucky outfit, the olive and leather, the suede sands, the gulag, the night watch, the winter soldier. This is interesting, to say the least. And you got the cabin fever. I kind of dig that one actually. The linen, Zide, the wanted, the true blue. You got the cadet blue. You got furlough. You got woodland moss. The moto gothic. Okay. Classic casual. Modern vintage. Olive drab. Arid plains. And then the iconic mask that they give you. I think you can still achieve this if you complete the challenge card without actually unlocking it. You still get access to this outfit, which is pretty fire. And those are the outfits for Winter Soldier, and that is how you build Winter Soldier. Think about what you're trying to achieve with the build. And of course, you can always change it when you feel like you want to change it. But if it's a build that you more or less just kind of want to use and run and gun with, no pun intended, focusing on ranged and focusing on your skills to complement the gear that you're going to use will boost your already solid build. So that way, yeah, at first glance, like, oh, that's pretty solid. And then you see it in combat, you're like, oh, okay, that's, yeah, that's different right there. So now what we're gonna do is, now that you've seen the build, now you see what's going on with them, we're gonna go run and do a, we're gonna do a quick drop zone. I love doing Eastern Seaboard. If you guys really want to see just a hint at what the damage looks like on this build. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, y'all not ready. Y'all not ready for this Winter Soldier build. I haven't taken them into the cloning lab yet, and I don't think I will.
Avengers. Several resistance fighters are trapped in the field.
I'm not gonna take them in. I'm not gonna take any of my power level 175 heroes into cloning lab until they fix the bug where gear is not stat growing. So once they fix that, then I'll jump into the cloning lab. Now, yeah, I'm just gonna show you airstrike real quick. Well, watch this. Make better choice. Look at this. Woo. See how much damage it did to this Synthoid? Whoa. Oh, okay, good block. Look at my hero doing. Look at Black Panther. He ain't playing no games. Oh, I can't wait to show y'all that Black Panther build though. Ooh. Now that was airstrike, right? So and you saw I used the semi-auto. So I'm gonna switch to the full auto for this.
Help those scientists.
So this is how you can see how fast. You see that? You see that? You see that? Watch this. Now it wiped it. Oh, look at that. Look at this. It's not fair. It's not fair. Nah, look at. How about this? Rah! Look at that. Look at that. Just activate everything. That sounds like Star Wars. Doesn't it sound like a TIE fighter about to fly in as he's activating? I wish he had double jump. Brah! Ooh. Look at that. Wiped him out. I didn't even have to. Oh, no, you did not. See how his intrinsic energy is building? Just defeat the enemy. Ooh. Oh, no, that's messed up. Look at that. Just. Woo. That's Winter Soldier for you. Then I got a flex on. Then I got a flex on. Then I got a flex on. Rah. How did I get that in there? Woo. That's Winter Soldier for you. I just use a drop zone just to demonstrate a little look into why this build is super solid. The stats may not at first quite look it, like no crazy high stat number, but it's being intricate in the skills and the perks
so they can fight another day.
To make use of those stats as well. And this is the complete work oof, the Winter Soldier Build Complete Workshop Guide into how you can build your Winter Soldier. But let me know down in the comment section below or in the live chat what's an idea you have for building out your Winter Soldier or a hero in general. And once this video ends, let me know in the comment section. Who's your favorite hero? What kind of builds are you rocking? Are you looking forward to the Captain America build coming tomorrow? Let me know down in the comment section below. But again, as always, you guys haven't already, make sure you like the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so you my videos on my live streams. So sit back, chillax, see what's cracking. Make sure you guys ignite the like button. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell. And make sure you guys share the videos with others who may appreciate this content. YouTube appreciates it. We appreciate it. But your man Micah signing out. Until the next video on the live stream. Wait for it. And keep it gaming.